Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 292 based on novel. So let's start. Looking at the purple-robed man rushing towards Xiao Yang with lightning in the sky, the expressions on the faces of Bai Hua and Liana suddenly changed. However, at the moment, the purple-robed man has come to Xiao Yang. They just want to stop it. It's too late. Even Ouyang Miao, who is standing in front of Xiao Yang at a distance of about 10 meters, also has no time to make any action. The source respected the full speed of the strong. Under this pole, they have no time to make any action at all. His body came to Xiao Yang like lightning. The purple-robed man smiled grimly and shook his palm. The majestic source gas immediately condensed into a layer of energy crystal and turned into a huge claw. When he grasped it with his 5 fingers, he grabbed Xiao Yang's body. On the ground below, Bai Rong looked at the scene in the sky, but he sneered at this guy's ignorance. Ouyang has been famous in the central region for many years, and his strength is naturally very important. If this guy thinks he can avoid the former, he will underestimate the name of Yulan Sword Saint. At the same time, Xiao Yang, with his extraordinary perception, has also noticed the attack of the purple-robed man. When the giant claw appears, Xiao Yang doesn't wait for him to lock himself. His foot moves in an instant, and his body immediately retreats back. Seeing that Xiao Yang reacted so quickly, the purple-robed man also sneered. As soon as his laughter fell, Xiao Yang's face suddenly changed. He only felt a flower in front of him, full of huge momentum and powerful claws, which appeared strangely again, and then quickly grabbed it like lightning. Together with the space around Xiao Yang, it solidified at the moment. The surrounding space solidified, Xiao Yang's face changed instantaneously, and his body shape was blocked. This energy giant claw is also too difficult. Now it is extremely difficult to avoid. The source respected the strong, really extraordinary. The thoughts of Dao and Dao flashed in his heart. Xiao Yang also fiercely clenched his teeth. A pair of dark eyes stared at the giant claw with the fierce wind. The remaining source gas in his body poured out more madly. At the same time, the flame wheel condensed in his palm behind him also turned violently at the moment. A little dark star, there is a smell of destruction in the middle of the roulette. Now he is ready to fight with the purple man in front of him. Almost at the same time that the roulette in Xiao Yang's palm was turning wildly, Ouyang, who had already noticed the movement here, suddenly frowned. Although the breath from the roulette was weak, he also felt it clearly with his perception. At present, he was slightly surprised. At the same time, the giant claw flashed towards Xiao Yang and immediately opened directly, like a ghost claw. In the air, it pinched Xiao Yang's head. Wang fried the giant claw that became more and more enlarged in the pupils of his eyes. Xiao Yang's face finally became dignified. The palm behind him suddenly lifted up, and the Buddha's anger in his palm rotated wildly. The energy of heaven and earth gathered with it, so he wanted to do his best. However, at the moment when Xiao Yang's palm was just lifted up, the space in front of him suddenly twisted strangely. Immediately, Ouyang body appeared from the distorted space and stood in front of Xiao Yang. Buzz! Almost at the same time that Ouyang figure showed, a vast calm and thick breath also suddenly surged out of his body, which was like a storm. The fierce sword spirit swept through Ouyang himself. Over his head, the invisible sword spirit condensed into a huge sword, which protected Ouyang. At this time, the terrible momentum spread out without reservation. That kind of feeling, just like what stands in front of him at the moment, is not a person, but a giant sword. On the ground below, at the moment when Bai Rong and the rest of the people on his side felt the momentum, the expression on his face also changed dramatically. Rao is based on Bai Rong's nature, and the bottom of his heart is also shocked at the moment. This guy broke through the 8 stars? Yulan Sword Saint, Ouyang, is a supreme power whose accomplishments have reached the 8-star source sun. You have repeatedly offended my Ouyang family, so don't blame me for being merciless. When Ouyang figure appeared, a slightly light-cold voice also sounded and opened. Immediately after that, the former was in Xiao Yang's stunned eyes. His 2 fingers were close together, stabbed forward without any fancy, and then hit on the huge claw that hit him head-on. Buzz! A white light flickered suddenly. The purple-robed man's face changed suddenly and his body shape retreated quickly. At the next moment, the huge claw suddenly burst into a big energy storm and swept again. At the same time, a fierce and unparalleled sword spirit swept over the purple-robed man's temples and cut off half of his hair bun, but also thanks to his timely response, otherwise, I'm afraid it's not just his half of his hair that has been cut off at the moment. The purple-robed man retreated quickly until he was tens of feet away. At the same time, he also found the powerful momentum and pressure emanating from Ouyang Yu. The color below looked even more ugly. Ba Xingyuan Zun has few enemies in Yuan Zun's general situation. Although he is also a strong man of Yuan Zun, he is undoubtedly a small which compared with Ouyang Yu in front of him. He didn't make a move before, but he didn't feel anything. At present, Ouyang Yu releases the momentum and authority in his body, and the gap between the two is clear at a glance. With only 2 fingers and 1 sword, he easily broke the ghost claws he gathered. Ouyang Yu's combat power can be seen. At this time, if he continues to delay, I'm afraid he will lose more than face. Glancing at the passers-by gradually gathered in the distance of the street, the purple-robed man's face was deep, and his eyes were particularly unwilling to sweep Xiao Yang. His eyes flickered rapidly. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and looked at Xiao Yang coldly. Boy, you're lucky this time. I'll make you pay a painful price next time I meet. The cold flash in Xiao Yang's eyes sneered. Just be with me. Hearing the speech, the old face of the purple-robed man couldn't help but draw a little. Immediately, his cold eyes swept through the people present, and his palms were very unwilling to grip. After a moment, he finally stopped doing this useless work. With a twist of his body, he quickly flew away outside Shengjin City. Boy, we'll meet again. The figure left, and the cold cheers floated from the far sky, and then slowly echoed in the sky. Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed slightly. In the dark depths of his eyes, Li Mang flashed. Looking at the purple-robed man whose body shape gradually disappeared in the sight, Xiao Yang slowly breathed out and dispersed the flame wheel in his hand. Now he has finally got rid of the old monster. However, looking at this appearance, the latter obviously doesn't want to give up so easily. If they meet in the future, they will inevitably have a real desperate struggle. But then, what step can he achieve in his cultivation? But it is still unknown. On the ground below, Bai Rong and others saw the purple-robed man turn and leave, and the light in their eyes couldn't help being slightly dim. They wanted to take this opportunity to eradicate Xiao Yang. Who expected that they would grow into such a shape? At present, they couldn't help but snort coldly and help Bai Ruoxuan, who had awakened from one side, to rise. At the same time, Xiao Yang's eyes on the sky withdrew. As soon as his eyes were swept, he immediately gathered somewhere on the earth below. In a pile of rubble there, a huge ruler as white as jade was obliquely inserted. It was a black jade ruler. At the end of World War I, this thing should be his victory now. With a smile and a move, an invisible force immediately spread out, quickly wrapped the Xuanyu ruler, pulled it out of the gravel and shot at Xiao Yanfei. Boy, dare you! Seeing the Xuanyu ruler shooting at Xiao Yanfei, Bai Rong's face changed instantly, his big sleeve rolled up, and the suction in his palm surged violently. Immediately, he forcibly sucked the Xuanyu ruler that swept up in the air, and then held it tightly in his hand. At the same time, he raised his eyes and stared at Xiao Yang with a gloomy face. When Xuanyu ruler was stopped, Xiao Yang's face didn't change slightly. He frowned and said in a deep voice, "How dare you gamble or lose? As a member of the Bai nationality, Your Majesty is not afraid to be laughed at by the world if he reneges on his words. Boy, you have sharp teeth and sharp mouth. It's clear that you sneaked in first. If not, how can you be the opponent of my aristocratic son with the strength of your 2-star Yuanzong?" Hearing the speech, Bai Rong suddenly looked cold and sneered. "You fart." In the previous World War I, Bai Ruoxuan was not Xiao Yang's opponent at all. Let's not say that his combat power was vain. It would be fatal to underestimate his opponent. Hearing Bai Rong's words, Ouyang Miao's face on the void immediately became low, and he couldn't help but drink and scold. The words spit out from his mouth made Bai Rong's face even more ugly. While his old face was red, he spoke again and argued. So what? It's still Xiao Yang who takes advantage of my aristocratic son's contempt for the enemy. Today's war must not count. If you want to fight, you'll fight a fair war in our binationality in the future. While Bai Rong said this, the faces of some attracted passers-by around the field couldn't help showing a sneer. Although they didn't know much about what happened on the field, the former was too ridiculous. Many people had experienced the mouth and face of the Bai people. This is the so-called fair battle. If you are in public, it may be easy to say, but if you are in the binationality, the strength of one family is against you, how can you say it is fair? In this regard, Ouyang Miao naturally understood that his eyes were extremely disgusted and swept away from Bai Rong's shriveled old face. Just about to speak again, Ouyang Yu suddenly frowned and questioned. Ouyang Miao briefly explained the previous battle and bet between Xiao Yang and Bai Ruoxuan. What are you talking about? Xian Chongkai? However, while Ouyang Miao was expounding, the former suddenly raised his eyebrows, as if he had heard something incredible. He gently exhaled. Almost at the same time, Ouyang Yu's eyes fell on Xiao Yang, and there was a brilliant flash in the depths of his eyes. Feeling Ouyang Yu's eyes, Xiao Yang was stunned at first. Immediately, he couldn't help but secretly look at it. He quietly mobilized the source qi in his body and operated in the meridians. If there was any chance, he could respond. Ouyang Miao was also surprised when he saw such a surprised expression on the former's always calm face, but without waiting for his inquiry, Ouyang Yu turned his eyes to Bai Rong and others below, glanced at several people, and finally fixed his face at the moment. He looked at his own Bai Ruoxuan with a sigh and hesitated. This is the way slowly. Ruo Xian, I know you are unwilling to fight, but it is inevitable to win or lose when you fight with others. Since you are the first to fight and have a bet, you should be willing to admit defeat. It's a big deal to win back in the future. If you do this today, I'm afraid it will damage the face of the clan. But Bai Ruoxuan just wanted to struggle, but the former's next words made his eyes burst out, even an unbelievable look. If you want to be Ouyang Yu's disciple, you must not go back on your word. Do you understand? Ouyang Yu frowned lightly, as if he were questioning. Hearing this, Bai Ruoxuan's pale face suddenly appeared surprised. The meaning of the former was that he was willing to accept him as a disciple. If so, even if Xuanyu ruler temporarily fell into Xiao Yang's hands, it would be easy for him to regain it after he has achieved something in the future. With this in mind, Bai Ruoxuan's eyes are more prosperous. He quickly salutes Ouyang Yu with the help of two Baxinguan sects, but Bai Rong frowns and holds him in a low voice. Shizzy, is there something? Shut up. It's just a useless weapon. What if you lose it? But in case the owner blames, I'll explain to my father. Now, give it to me. Bai Ruoxuan's face sank and slowly extended his palm to Bai Rong. The latter couldn't help but bite his teeth. His old face hesitated until Bai Ruoxuan wanted to attack again. He handed over the Xuanyu ruler in his hand. Starting with the Xuanyu ruler, the familiar cold touch was immediately introduced into the palm. Bai Ruoxuan looked at the giant ruler in his hand, which had been with him for many years. He couldn't help glancing a color of nostalgia in his eyes. Immediately, he held up his hands and waited for Ouyang Yu's decision. Please make a decision. Well, you are a metal source of qi with a sharp edge. This Xuanyu ruler is too thick and not suitable for you. I will find another suitable weapon for you in the future. Ouyang Yu said something blandly. After the latter respectfully thanked him, he nodded and looked at Xiao Yang on one side, smiled and said, Xiao Yang, from now on, this Xuanyu ruler is yours. Please. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang arched his hand at Ouyang Yu with a little gratitude. Immediately, he looked down at the Xuanyu ruler held by Ruoxuan. He smiled and stretched out his hand. While the suction gushed out of his palm, he inhaled the Xuanyu ruler into his palm. After a simple observation, he put it into the ring and kept it. Seeing that Xuanyu Kai fell into Xiao Yang's hands, Ruoxuan, who was pale on the ground below, couldn't help but show a sense of resentment in his eyes. However, with Ouyang Yu in front, he had to put this hatred on the bottom of his heart for the time being. When he scolded secretly, there was a feeling of weakness in his body. He was hit hard by Xiao Yang before, but he was hit hard in an instant. Fortunately, he was protected by the pill. At the moment, the remaining power of the pill in his body was exhausted, and the pain hit his heart again. Seeing this, an old man nearby hurried to take another healing pill for him. His face improved slightly after the drug spread in his body. In the void, Ouyang Miao frowned and looked at Bai Ruoxuan and others below. His eyes were full of disgust. After the previous events, he hated these guys who didn't have any good feelings in his heart. But at the moment, Ouyang Yu spoke in person. Naturally, he didn't say much. Moreover, people with clear eyes naturally could see that Ouyang Yu's move was mostly in favor of Xiao Yang's wishes. This made him feel strange. In the past, Ouyang Yu has never paid any attention to Bai Ruoxuan. Today, he is suddenly willing to accept him as an apprentice, which is really unimaginable. With this in mind, Ouyang Miao couldn't help turning his eyes to Xiao Yang. His eyes showed some suspicious color. What's special about this guy? Even Ouyang Yu could be partial to him when he first met him. Is it because of different fire? Ouyang Miao raised his eyebrows and immediately shook his head secretly. He didn't disclose the strange fire. Ouyang Yu naturally didn't know. At present, after a while of hard thinking, he shrugged helplessly and looked back at Ouyang Yu again. At the same time, Ouyang Yu's eyes fell back on Bai Ruoxuan again. Seeing the latter's state, he glanced blandly, and then said calmly, "Well, let's stop here first. If Xian's injury is not light, come with me first. The rest, Shure Miao, will give it to you." Hearing this, Ouyang Miao immediately nodded respectfully, while Bai Ruoxuan below immediately showed a happy look on his face. He immediately mobilized the remaining source gas in his body. While Ouyang Yu turned and walked towards the depths of Shengjin City, he quickly followed. Then Bai Rong frowned, looked deeply at Xiao Yang in the sky, snorted coldly, and then followed up. Not far away, Bai Hua and Liana also came to Xiao Yang's side. The three looked at Ouyang Miao together. The game with him might not be possible for the time being. Next, it's time to prepare to go to the Xiao family. Just as several people were about to start, Bai Ruoxuan, who passed by Xiao Yang, suddenly heard the low voice of sneering at cold in his mouth. "Xiao Yang, isn't it? The Xuanyu ruler will be stored in your hand for the time being. One day, I will let you return it to me on your knees." As soon as these words came out, the faces of Bai Hua and Liana on one side were suddenly cold, but Xiao Yang smiled non-committally and said, "Wait for you to get it." Hearing the speech, Bai Ruoxuan's face suddenly sank and he was just about to speak again, but Ouyang Yu in front suddenly frowned and lowered his voice. He turned his face and hurriedly ran after him with a smile. However, although his face was smiling, there was a sense of anger and gloom in the depths of his eyes. Look at that appearance. If it wasn't for Ouyang Yu's presence, I'm afraid it's coming straight. Xiao Yang smiled, as if he didn't notice the weakness hidden in the depths of the former's eyes. He turned his head and looked at Ouyang Miao flying from one side. The latter nodded slightly, glanced at Bai Ruoxuan who left quickly, snorted coldly and said, "It's just a quick tongue. Don't pay attention to him." Xiao Yang smiled and shook his head. If he wanted to care about such a small matter, he was afraid that he could not get to this point. Looking at the street-like ruins below, Xiao Yang couldn't help shrugging his shoulders. Ouyang Miao smiled and indicated that Xiao Yang was all right. Soon, he took the three people to the direction of the transmission array. A moment later, the group came to a square in the center of Shengjin City. With their arrival, many people's eyes in the square also focused on Xiao Yang and his group. Ouyang Miao is a descendant of Ouyang family. Naturally, no one knows his identity in this holy golden city. Apart from the children of several ancient families and clans, there are only some young people who are more famous in central regions. However, these three people are not included in those people. Let alone the young people in black robes, the other two, even the Source Emperor didn't achieve their accomplishments. I'm afraid no one will remember their faces in the central region. However, at the moment, they can stand with Ouyang Miao, which inevitably surprised many people. However, soon, under the disclosure of some insiders, the suspicious eyes of the people present immediately turned into a shock, especially when they learned that even Bai Ruoxuan of the Bai family had eaten on Xiao Yang. Many people's faces showed an expression of schadenfreude. It was obvious that they had no good feelings for the people of the Bai family. The 3 large transmission arrays are really one of the 3 clans. I'm afraid they are rare. Looking at the magnificent square in front of him, especially the huge transmission array running under the golden light at the moment, Xiao Yang couldn't help taking a breath. There was a dazzling flash on the transfer array at the moment, and the outer layer was covered with a solid array cover to stop all the energy fluctuations in it. In this way, it can also reduce some energy consumption and prevent some trouble of raid. As the array cover dispersed, dozens of people walked out of the array, and then people stepped into the array one after another. This is just the transmission array established by Ouyang family. When we get to a deeper place in the middle region, there is a stronger transmission array, the 7th order transmission array. It's not small, but it's not big. Hearing the speech, Ouyang Miao smiled calmly. This square is quite amazing in the eyes of most people, but it is obviously much darker in the eyes of his son. For this, Xiao Yang had to smile and nod without saying anything more. After all, his location is different, and what he sees is naturally different. The Ouyang family can bully one of the super forces in the mainland. As a son of the world, his vision is naturally beyond people's reach. Xiao Yang thinks he is a newcomer, but it's only a matter of time to understand such a large middle region. Let's go. When they came to the transmission array, they simply said a few words with Ouyang Miao, and then went straight into the array. Because of the latter relationship, they avoided the trouble of paying Lingsha. After Xiao Yang and his 3 men stepped into the array, they smiled at each other and nodded their heads. Immediately, an old man who manipulated the large array made a seal on a stone platform outside the transmission array. With the spread of a special energy fluctuation, a layer of golden array cover covered the whole stone platform. Immediately, the huge array under the feet of Xiao Yang and others also emitted a bright golden light at this time. When the light gradually flourished until it covered everyone's body, the transmission array was completely started, and the bodies of the people on the field also disappeared in the Holy Gold City. Tenyang City is one of the 3 largest affiliated cities under the command of the Xiao nationality. At the same time, it is also the last transit station for Xiao Yang to go to the Xiao nationality. When he arrives here, he really comes to the boundary where the Xiao nationality is located. On the square, Xiao Yang looked at the flow of people that was much thinner than the Holy Gold City. He couldn't help feeling a little sigh. Although they are one of the 3 clans, the gap between them is revealed in this minute. Not to mention anything else, even the 7-echelon transmission array, looking at the whole Xiao family, it seems that there is only one in Tenyang City. Alas! An inexplicable sigh came out of his mouth. Immediately, Xiao Yang's eyes looked around, and then landed on an old man in hemp robes. The old man was sitting on an independent stone platform. His face was waxy yellow, his eyes were closed, and his whole body was as motionless as a stone carving. If he hadn't breathed steadily between his nose, he might have been mistaken for a dead man, and this old man, like Shengjin City, was responsible for controlling the operation of this transmission array. With a slight smile, Xiao Yang took Bai Hua and the 2 of them stepped forward, saluted the old man respectfully, and immediately made a respectful voice, saying, "I'm sorry, but I hope you can tell me where the Xiao family is." Although the 3 have arrived at the boundary of the Xiao family, the exact location of the Xiao family is not clearly marked on the map they bring, and even the locations of several other superforces are not marked. As for this Tenyang City, it is also impossible to confirm the location of the Xiao family by relying on a few broad streets. Therefore, Xiao Yang has to ask others for help. At this moment, after hearing Xiao Yang's words, the old man opened his closed deep eyes slowly, looked at the 3 people in front of him a little strangely, and then his eyes flashed with surprise. Then he took back his eyes and said faintly, "3 little dolls, what are you doing in the Xiao family? I have a friend who is from the Xiao family. I came here to find him. I hope you can show me the way." Xiao Yangcheng smiled sincerely and said respectfully, "Find a friend? What's his name? Maybe the old man can call him out for you." The old man looked contemptuously at Xiao Yang, and his tone seemed to be casual. "It's just an unknown younger generation. I won't bother the elder. I can find him myself. Hey, boy, do you really think I'm easy to fool, the old man? Your cultivation has entered the Source sect. Even if your friend is so poor, he can't be a nobody. Hearing the speech, the old man smiled slightly and his eyebrows were slightly low. Suddenly, a strong invisible pressure immediately shrouded over Xiao Yang and Baihua's head. It was Liana. The old man didn't seem to mean to put pressure. When the pressure dropped, Xiao Yang's face suddenly changed, his body suddenly sank, and his heart also screamed at the moment. This is soul power. Feeling the powerful pressure on his shoulder like a meteorite falling from the sky, Xiao Yang's pupil shrank suddenly, and his heart couldn't help but be shocked. I'm afraid this is the first time since he came to Yuanwu mainland. Tell me, what's your purpose of coming to the Xiao family? The old man looked calmly at the two people whose bodies were bent down in front of him, and spoke calmly. At the same time, the soul pressure exerted on them became more and more heavy. Elder. Misunderstood. The younger three are just looking for old friends. Xiao Yang clenched his teeth. While the source qi in his body was running wildly, the soul power in the center of his eyebrows also gushed out like a tide at the moment, shrouding over their heads, trying to resist the old man's soul. Hey! Ignoring Xiao Yang's words, the old man was slightly surprised. At the same time, a smile passed imperceptibly from the corners of his mouth. Although Xiao Yang's practice did not achieve substantive results, I'm afraid that only the children of Dantar can have such a degree of soul power among the young generation in central China, but by contrast, in front of Xiao Yang, there is no support from many external forces. This alone is enough to make the old man look at it. He nodded secretly. A moment later, the old man slowly took back the released soul pressure. His face was still indifferent, and his tone was slightly contemptuous. Then he said, "Well, I'll let you in. The old man wants to see how big a storm 3 little dolls can cause." Then, with a flick of his finger, a streamer was emitted, pointing to the northern sky, and that was the answer Xiao Yang and his party needed. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang hurriedly led the two people on one side to salute the old man again. The latter was too lazy to pay attention, but his eyes jumped and looked at the transmission array on the stone platform. Without his control, the transmission array would no longer operate. Naturally, these people had to wait anxiously. There was a spat of spitting and scolding in his mouth. The old man looked disdainful. When Xiao Yang and others turned and left, they suddenly waved their sleeves. A burst of golden light immediately rose on the huge transmission array. The noise disappeared in an instant, and the square was much quieter. Looking at the direction of Xiao Yang's departure, the old man couldn't help but show a satisfied smile on his plain old face, and immediately whispered, "Xiao Yang. Good little fellow, the future of the Xiao family will depend on you young people. I just hope you don't repeat the mistakes of your ancestors." In the end, the old man's eyes couldn't help showing a color of regret. On the other hand, with the guidance of the old man, the three of Xiao Yang are walking slowly in the direction of the streamer. Although they know the location of the Xiao nationality, it is still Tenyang city, an affiliated city of the Xiao nationality. It is still a distance from the origin of the Xiao nationality. It's better to be at ease than rush there. When the three were walking along the road, Xiao Yang's two big men naturally didn't pay attention, but for Liana, who was petite, sweet and lovely, naturally attracted a lot of fiery eyes. Especially when they noticed the grievances and cowardice between Liana's beautiful eyes, the fiery light in her eyes was even more prosperous. Xiao Yang frowned slightly, his eyes swept around the passers-by who kept casting their eyes, and a dark cold color flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, they made those people suddenly feel a dangerous chill and quickly took back their unbridled eyes. However, when Xiao Yang was about to take back his eyes, an obscene look came from his face, which made him frown in an instant, and his cold line of sight was cast in the past. "Gaga, the little girl is so beautiful. I haven't seen such a top-grade product for a long time. Hey, Boss Zhao, that child is not the best. If we take her back, isn't it?" Quack, quack, quack. On the street, in front of the three Xiao Yang at the moment, as the crowd dispersed, a line of figures in white directly blocked the way of the three Xiao Yang. Next to a young man led by the crowd, a short, thin and obscene man was right next to the young man's ear, whispering, Then he heard a quack smile in the young man's mouth. At the same time, a pair of deep concave eyes were also looking up and down wantonly on Liana's delicate body. That kind of eyes seemed to be inspecting an object. The young man only glanced at the cold eyes shot by Xiao Yang. Surrounded by the people around him, a moment later, he put his contemptuous eyes on Xiao Yang, smiled and said with disdain, "The girl stays. You can roll after you get the spirit stone in the back." As soon as the young man's laughter fell, he stepped towards Liana with a dirty smile. He completely ignored the gloomy look on Xiao Yang's face at the moment. When passers-by saw this, they had to shake their heads secretly and cast some sympathetic eyes at Xiao Yang and others. Although he rarely came to Tenyang city in ordinary days, if he met him, it can only be regarded as misfortune in misfortune. The distance between the two sides was only about 1 foot. As soon as the young man stepped on, he came to Liana. With a dirty smile on his face, he raised his palm and stretched out his hand to Liana's bright and clean face. At the same time, the others behind him came forward to stop Xiao Yang and looked like this. I'm afraid they haven't done much. However, this time, when this group of people came to Xiao Yang with a sneer, Xiao Yang completely ignored these people in white and turned to stare at the young man who wanted to attack Liana. While the crowd came forward, he stepped forward. For a short time, a powerful momentum swept out of his body like a storm. The terrible wind pressure in the horrified eyes of those passers-by around drove back the people who came forward in an instant. Almost at the same time as Xiao Yang's step fell, his body shape already appeared in front of the young man. He raised a palm, pinched the young man's wrist in the palm, and twisted his wrist gently. His whole body was out of control at the moment. "Ah, damn bastard, do you know who this young master is? I'm Zhao Mingjie." At the same time when the painful scream sounded, the young man immediately roared in his mouth. When his heart moved, the source gas in his body wanted to burst out. However, Xiao Yang kicked Zhao Mingjie's belly with 1 foot. With his strong strength, while dispersing the source gas just condensed in his body also flew upside down, and immediately hit the people in white. Cough. "Boy, how dare you hit this? Get out." Zhao Mingjie stood up again in the arms of the people. The angry scolding voice in his mouth had not yet fallen. He was shocked by Xiao Yang's words, and his eardrums ached. The look on his face suddenly became iron blue. His heart was even more angry. At present, even his voice became hoarse. "Give it to me and kill this little bastard." However, this time, everyone around him looked at each other, and no one dared to do it easily. As for the previous obscene man, he didn't know where to hide and disappeared. The momentum and pressure that just poured out of Xiao Yang's body has already explained to them the strength of the people in front of them, a strong person at the level of Yuanzong. Among them, the strongest is only the Yuan Huang, and even most of them are just the strength of the Yuan Wang in his early days. Although such an array is quite stressful for ordinary people, in front of a strong person of Yuanzong, but it does not have any threat. At this time, letting them kill the former is the same as sending them to death. A bunch of rubbish. What do I feed you for on weekdays? Seeing that none of the people around him dared to take action, Zhao Mingjie's face looked much more ugly. On the contrary, several people in white beside him couldn't help but feel a burst of abdominal pain. Although Zhao Mingjie was the child brother of the Zhao family, he was also the owner of the Zhao family. If you really want to say, he didn't give them half of the benefits. If they had not been ordered by the Zhao family master, they would not have let this guy do anything. At this time, Xiao Yang and the two people behind him were walking forward slowly with cold faces. With each step forward, the strong pressure from his body also spread outward. At the same time, a fierce sense of killing and cutting also spread outward at this time. They had no doubt that once this pressure fell on their heads, I'm afraid it would be the time for the black-robed youth to take action. At that moment, the people around him immediately retreated and dispersed. Even some people in white who were surrounding Zhao Mingjie at this time also retreated one after another with fear. Instead, Zhao Mingjie stared at Xiao Yang in front of him with an angry face. The source gas in his body gathered again, and there was also a killing intention in his eyes. Die. Suddenly, Zhao Mingjie gave a violent drink in his mouth, and his face suddenly became ferocious. When his body rushed forward, His palm turned and the source gas in his palm condensed rapidly. In the twinkling of an eye, he turned into a sharp long sword. His body moved, and he flashed straight at Xiao Yan and others. His dark killing intention made a few passers-by turn pale. However, seeing Zhao Mingjie rushing forward, Xiao Yan's face was cold. When he continued to step forward, he raised his palm and gently grasped it in mid-air. In an instant, Zhao Mingjie's body suddenly stagnated in mid-air. In the surrounding void, a thin black line appeared. Just wait for Xiao Yan's mind to move, it will instantly cut Zhao Mingjie into countless pieces. But just as Xiao Yan was about to make a move, the crowd on one side of the road ahead hurriedly gave way. A middle-aged man in green looked a little hurried out of the crowd. Then, the obscene man who had disappeared before was closely following. "Sir, can you show mercy?" As soon as the middle-aged man appeared, he was already aware of the danger of the situation on the field. At present, he didn't dare to hesitate. He quickly hugged Xiao Yan and others, arched his hands, and said solemnly. Seeing the middle-aged man in front of him, Xiao Yan's actions gave him a slight pause. He glanced at the man in front of him and immediately frowned and said in a deep voice, "You want to stand up for him?" With Xiao Yan's eyesight, it is natural to see that the middle-aged man in front of him is a 9-star source sect. His cultivation is much better than the 2 white elders he met in Shengjin City. Otherwise, he would not stop. After all, he is a 9-star source sect with great strength. Once entangled, he is afraid he can't get any benefits in this Tenyang city. "Sir, I misunderstood. I am the owner of Tenyang City. I have nothing to do with him, but if you want to kill him, you have to consider the people behind him." Hearing the speech, the middle-aged man bowed his hands again and hurriedly reported his identity. "You mean the Xiao clan?" Xiao Yang's eyebrows are light. If so, he doesn't have to take it into account. If people of the Xiao family will find him in trouble for such a naughty person, the so-called Xiao family should not go. However, Anan shook his head and said slowly, "It's his father, the owner of the Zhao family in Liang City. The guy's cultivation has entered Yuanzhuan. I hope Mr. can attach importance to him." Hearing this, Xiao Yang's face couldn't help changing slightly. After a little hesitation, he nodded and smiled at Anan, took back his palm, gently hugged the latter and saw it. Anan smiled and nodded, which was a sigh of relief in his heart. "Boy, you wait for me. I will make you double your payment for today's account." Without Xiao Yang's control, Zhao Mingjie's body suddenly fell to the ground. When he got up in embarrassment, the vicious voice with resentment also came out of his mouth. Bang! At the moment when Zhao Mingjie's words fell, Xiao Yang suddenly flashed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the former. With a wave of his hand, he slapped Zhao Mingjie out with a fierce slap. At the same time, his whole person was smashed into the crowd behind him again. When the people saw it, his face was white, half of his face swelled rapidly and the whole person fell into a coma. Seeing this, Anan had to shake his head reluctantly. Zhao Mingjie could only say that he was to blame. It was clear that he had just been forcibly pulled back from the edge of death. In the twinkling of an eye, he dared to say such provocative words. Xiao Yang was lucky not to kill him. "Something that doesn't know good or bad," he whispered. To be honest, if it hadn't happened on the site where he settled down today, Anan really didn't bother to come forward. None of them was tired of Zhao Mingjie's bad reputation outside. It was just his father who achieved Yuanzhuan through his cultivation. If it hadn't been for this, how could he let go of his life until now? After cleaning up Zhao Mingjie, Xiao Yang stopped staying. They nodded slightly behind him and continued to move forward. Passers-by all around gave way to him. Then Bai Hua and Liana followed closely. When they were about to cross Anan, the latter made a sound again and smiled. "Look at the direction Sir is going, isn't it going to Xiaocheng? The city of Xiao is exactly where the Xiao people belong." Xiao Yang's footsteps gave a slight pause and hesitated. Then he nodded. "Ha ha, since Mr. Xiao is here, he should be careful. Although Zhao Mingjie has a bad reputation outside, he has some network among Xiao people. Mr. must be careful. Thanks for reminding." With a light hug and a fist, Xiao Yang smiled, even raised his feet and continued to walk slowly towards the end of the street. In the twinkling of an eye, the three of them completely disappeared at the end of the street. Looking at the back of Xiao Yan, Anan narrowed his eyes slightly, and immediately glanced at Zhao Mingjie, who was surrounded by the crowd. With a faint cold hum, he waved his sleeves and walked in the direction of coming. This video will end here.